My name is Alan Evans. I'm in charge of airport operations here at the Pocatello Regional Airport. We've got quite an area out here. This airport sits on about 3,200 acres that the airport sits on. Of course, some of that is farm ground and so forth. Our main runway is about a little over 9,000 feet long, 150 feet wide. So that's pretty good size. It's not obviously the biggest in Idaho, but it's one of the larger runways in the state. That's our primary runway. We also have a secondary runway that's about a little over 7,000 feet long. And then we have a taxiway that runs about 9,000 feet long. So I would imagine we probably have to clean up between 25 to 30 miles of surface on each time that we get called out or each time that we start a plow operation. One of the problems that we run into is anytime we have a half-inch of snow, we have to do something with it. So half inch isn't very much, but by the time you move that clear across the runway or split it and move it, you end up with quite a little bit. So this was a decent storm, this last one. It usually takes us a couple of days to clean the storm up like that to where we're real comfortable. The runways are always cleaned up very well. It's just some of the parking areas and so forth take a little longer. The minimums for a lot of these aircraft is a half inch, and so we need to get on it relatively quickly so that we don't have problems with it. Drifting can be a problem too. A half inch of drifting we need to come out and do something with as well. In the wintertime we use a variety of equipment. I run blowers, snow plows, and brooms primarily to clean up our runway surfaces. This piece of equipment here is actually one of our older plow trucks. It was acquired back in 1996. It's airport specific in that it has four-wheel steering, 20-foot blade, primarily designed to clean up big surfaces and runways. Our runway is 150 feet wide, so it takes a number of passes in order to get across it. One thing about this truck that's kind of interesting that you wouldn't see on a plow truck in the city, we do run a rubber blade versus a steel blade. It's kind of like a big squeegee. It's a little less aggressive on our pavement surfaces and does a pretty good job when you get on it fairly soon. I've got two 20-foot wide plows that we initially start out with. I do have a newer truck that we acquired last year. It's basically the same truck as this, just an updated version. And both of them run blowers. They have attachments where you can hook a blower on, a plow on, so they'll both do multi-purpose type work. Blower's a big blade, throws the snow out over the lights for quite a long distance. They really have a lot of power. The blower motors on these run in excess of about 700 horsepower, so there's a lot of power behind that blowing apparatus. Our method is to clean the runway off and get the snow out to the edges as quickly as we can so that flights can still use the runway. And then at a little later time, we'll come back in with the blower and clean up those edges and get that berm that's left over out past the lights so that we've got a flat surface on the entire runway. A little safer should they get off to the side a little bit. They don't have a berm to contend with. The sweeper is actually, we've got two sweepers here. One's real old and the other one is a little bit newer. We're looking at getting a new one, which actually is coming. We primarily use that in the summer months. We'll clean the runway with it, but in the winter months they have designed them to where they will move snow as well at a fairly high speed. We haven't got one on hand right now that does a real good job in snow, so we're kind of excited for a new one to come. I think it will become a frontline piece of equipment for us where we'll go out immediately with that and cut the center line out so that we don't have any contamination on the center line, and then come back in behind with the plow to move the heavier material. It is a full-time job. We are on call 24/7, and so there's a lot of commitment on our part to make sure that we're available to take care of the problems. There is a lot of teamwork, a lot of coordination to make sure that we do things safely and efficiently. We don't do much with the airlines other than just coordinate with them and make sure that they know that their flights can make it in without any problems and make sure they get out without any problems. Our police officers do some of our operations duties for us. They do some of the runway checks and things of that nature. We've always had a 2- or 3-man crew. We're actually really quite small in the operations side of things. Luckily, like I say, we've got some nice equipment which makes up for some of the manpower deficiency. And we, over the years, have worked up ways of being really quite efficient. We've found areas that we can save time. This truck alone, when I acquired it in '96, cut over an hour and a half off of our cleanup time alone, just because it could turn the way it does. So we're doing, I think, quite well with the manpower we have.